The world ended with terrifying speed. Monsters appeared and turned the earth into a living hell for humans. Some people awakened strange powers, but even that wasn't enough. Society collapsed almost overnight. 3 days later, inside a small apartment, a guy sat eating cold fast food, thinking he was all alone. He remembered how his father had bought this place years ago. It was supposed to help with tax benefits, but now he was stuck here, of all places, in the middle of an apocalypse. He checked his phone out of habit. Still no signal. With a sigh, he looked up just in time to hear a monster crashing toward him from outside. It lunged through the window, and in shock, the guy froze and covered his face. But nothing happened. Peeking through his fingers, he saw a strange glowing window appear before his eyes. The system message read, "Unauthorized entity attempting to enter." The monster struck a shimmering barrier and tumbled to the ground. Another message appeared, "Alternate shut-in. Home base passive skill, level 1. Breathing heavily, he muttered that this was the only reason he was still alive. He tried the front door, kicking it, stomping it. Nothing worked. The system was clear. The ultimate shut-in is forbidden from leaving the house. He sank into the corner, pulling at his hair sarcastically and thinking what is ultimate about this. Looking toward the food, he realized supplies were running low. The power had been out since the start, meaning the freezer wasn't working anymore. His food wouldn't last long. Suddenly, a ding echoed. The system informed him, "You have hunted a Kelican." Skill level increased. Startled, he looked out the window and saw goblins tearing apart the corpse of a fallen monster. He frowned in confusion. How did something slamming into his barrier count as him hunting it? The system chimed again. New skill acquired. Loot detected nearby. The goblins screamed strangely as they worked, unsettling him further. Then the system added, "Loot has been collected. Current balance, 2,002,341 won." His eyes widened. Loot? Collected? From here. Before he could process it, the lights in the apartment flickered back to life. He shouted in surprise, laughing hysterically. Another message appeared. No one may breach the domestic boundaries of the ultimate shadow without permission. All household functions have been restored to maintain the resident's lifestyle. Grinning like a madman, he checked everything. The fridge, the faucet, the stove. They all worked. Tears of joy filled his eyes as he knelt on the floor. For a moment, it was like life before the world collapsed. Hope surged. He grabbed his phone, still no network. Disappointment hit him hard. He sighed, tugging at his hair, then sat down at his computer. Photos of his family appeared on the screen. Birthdays, holidays, simple happy moments. His mood shifted instantly. Clenching his fist, he swore he would bring his family back. The system chimed again. Ultimate Shadow, Shock Level 1. Access to shop now available. Items purchasable at retail price. Confused, he muttered the word shop. The system displayed his balance. He tapped the shop button, and another message asked if he wanted to register an item for the first time. He stepped onto the balcony, only for the system to warn, "Leaving the house is forbidden." With a sigh, he muttered that even with his skill leveled up, nothing had changed. But at least he had learned something. He could gain levels by luring monsters into slamming against his barrier. If he grew strong enough, maybe one day he could escape. Looking down, he spotted goblins below and wondered if he could kill them. He tested the system by tossing a water bottle outside. It worked. Excited, he grabbed a dumbbell, planning to crush a goblin. But before he could throw it, the goblins finished their hunt. Their leader waved his arm, and they began to retreat. Panicking, the guy hurled the dumbbell with all his strength, hoping it would hit. But it missed, crashing into the corpse of another monster. He cursed under his breath. With only one dumbbell left, he considered throwing the TV or computer, but they were too heavy. His heart raced as the goblins turned, spotting him on the balcony. They shrieked and charged. In a frenzy, he accessed the shop, pulling up the registration screen. He held out the dumbbell. The system scanned it. Non-slip 61B dumbbell. Registration complete. Purchase item? The system asked. He affirmed, and the dumbbell materialized out of thin air. Grinning, he threw it at a goblin, striking it dead. The system reported, "Goblin level 7 hunted. Experience points gained. 3,345 won earned." Laughing, he watched the goblins panic. More dumbbells appeared from thin air, purchased instantly by the system. He hurled them one after another, taking down goblins and gaining loot. The system then announced a new feature. Storage level 1 unlocked. Subspace inventory available. He tested it immediately, storing and summoning dumbbells at will. His eyes glimmered with excitement. The goblins, shocked and unable to move, gets killed one by one. The system then tells him that he has gained 54,661 and some experience points, and asks him if he would like to register an additional item. A few minutes later, he had registered 10 items including dumbbells, water, and food supplies. Checking his balance, he noticed it had dropped by exactly 1-1. He frowned, wondering if maintenance costs were draining his funds, perhaps from powering the house or running water. Annoyed, he cursed the goblins. He had killed several with his dumbbell barrage, but most had fled, dragging the corpses with them. Without the bodies, he couldn't collect loot. Praying out loud, he wished for another monster to appear, and in a miracle or his luck he got his wish. A pelican flapped into view. Quickly, he lured it closer with reflected light from a mirror. The bird-like beast dove at him, seeing the monster charge at him. Our boy thinks that his plan is working, making him beam. But to his dismay, the monster flaps his wing at the last moment, dodging the barrier and escaping death. He then disappears. Attacking from above, the monster tries to break the barrier from above, slamming his mouth onto the barrier to break it. The system then pops up, telling that an unauthorized entity is attempting to enter, making our boy pray that it won't breach the barrier. Thinking fast, he checked the shop. Remembering that loot must be collected nearby, he realized he needed to kill enemies directly against the barrier. Scanning his inventory, his eyes landed on cooking oil. He bought 10 bottles instantly, pouring them into a large pan. Improvising, he wrapped a towel around a wooden stick, dipped it into the boiling oil, then registered it with the system. Lighting it on fire, he grinned and ordered summon cooking oil. The system then poured the cooked oil, dousing the monster. He hurled the flaming weapon, igniting the pelican. It shrieked, crashed to the ground, and burned to ash. The system announced. Level 27 pelican hunted. Loot collected. Balance, 9,000,001. The ground shook. Home base expanding. Suddenly, his vision blurred. His eyes turned black, and an overwhelming pain overwhelmed him down. When he opened them again, he saw something new. His neighbors that he gasped, clutching his face. He could see into the neighboring apartment as if the walls weren't there. Then the sight vanished, leaving him trembling in pain. The system listed profiles of the people he had seen. Hyunjin Choi, late 30s, husband. Haiwan Park, late 30s, wife. Naeon Choi, age 6. First daughter. Seoyin Choi, age 4, second daughter. The system informed him that they met the criteria for citizenship. It asked if he wished to grant it. He hesitated. What would happen if he refused? The answer chilled him. Non-citizens will be expelled from the home base. He quickly granted them citizenship. His skill window updated. Ultimate Eye, level 1 acquired. Ability, see all within home base. He checked the population, 4 out of 600. 600. He whispered, lamenting that it's large. Inspecting Hyunjin's profile, he noted the man was level 9, with no awakened abilities and trust at only 24%. Options appeared, assign quest or expel. He celebrates that this is how he's supposed to be leveling up. He then clicks assign quests. The system then pulls out quest details, time limit, reward, and failure penalty. He then fills out the details. The quest, hunting goblins, time limit 168 hours, and reward experience point. Failure penalty, none. The system then asks him if he wants to assign a quest, making him wonder what is the maximum failure penalty he can set. Then he tests the penalty by ordering the system to change failure penalty to death. The system then changes the penalty to death, then asks him if he wants to assign the quest. He then shakes his head and decides that he won't, ordering the system to cancel the quest. He then flops down and thinks that he can literally kill all of them anytime he wants to, activating Ultimate Eye. He spied on his neighbors. Haiwan fretted about food running out, grabbing his head in frustration, tells her that he will get some water and going outside, and tells her to stay with the kids. Haiwan, worried, tells him that it's dangerous out there. He replies, saying he doesn't have any choice. She hesitantly asks him where he'll find water, prompting him reply that he'll check the convenience store nearby, and thinks that it's big and may have something left. One of the girls then tells her mom that she is thirsty, making the husband clench his fists, then tells the wife that he'll find whatever he can get. She then stays silent, thinking the worst that could happen. Hyungjin, frustrated, Jeahyun closed his eyes, skill thinking this is worse than he thought. Then he opened the skill window. He orders access shop, then purchases drinking water and tangerines. Then upgrades the other two lifestyle maintenance skills and the ultimate shut-in shop. He then thinks that he could supply power and water to the neighbors and asks for other things in return. He upgrades the lifestyle maintenance skill to level 2, acquiring a new feature, the vassal feature. He then mutters vassal feature in confusion. We then cut back to the scene with the neighbors as Hyungjin is getting ready to go out. He then looks at his family. His wife calls him, making him turn to say goodbye, telling the kids to be good for their mom. One of the girls, Nayeon, asks him if he is really going out there, making him pat her on the head, saying that he will be back with water and food. Tearing up, she shouts that there are monsters outside, making him remember the day of the apocalypse. The girls were playing with sand like any other day when the goblins started coming and attacking them. They then started to run. Then their parents come and grab them, running for their lives and surviving the apocalypse. Remembering this, he stays silent. Then the girls start to cry, making their mother tell them not to cry. Then Hyungjin thinks in his head that this might be the last time he will see them and grits and bites his lips in frustration. Suddenly the doorbell rings and someone knocks on the door. Shocked, the whole family becomes alert. The husband turns, grabbing his weapon, ready to attack. The door keeps being knocked. The knocker then asks if anyone can open the door, making Hyun contemplate if that's a person or a monster. The unknown creature outside says hello, checking if there's anyone here. Then the door suddenly bargs open, making the husband cover his whole family and beg to spare his wife and kids. They then peek to see our boy standing over them. The husband then asks who he is, making him answer that his name is Jeahyun Kim and he lives next door. He then tells them that he brought some water and tangerines and tells them to have some and talk afterwards. The husband and wife and children look at him confused. Then Hyungjin thinks that he's offering them water and food and he cannot turn him down because he has no choice. Thinking fast, he invites him in the house. Inside their home, the two daughters glared suspiciously at Jeahyun, making him chuckle awkwardly. He commented on their blackout curtains, impressed by their cleverness. With a command, he restored the power, causing the lights to flash on. Hyungjin whispered in disbelief, "The power's back." Jeahyun handed the girls water and fruit. They gulped greedily, coughing as their mother fussed over them. Peeling a tangerine, she fed them slices. Smiles blossomed on the children's faces for the first time in days. Jeahyun watched quietly, resisting the urge to register them as vassals. They were too young. Instead, he turned to Hyungjin. The man's trust had risen to 31%. Jeahyun decided to nurture that. When Hyungjin thanked him sincerely, not knowing how to repay him, Jeahyun then invited him outside to talk. He asked if the him had noticed anything strange after citizenship was granted. Hyungjin admitted they had frozen briefly, unable to move. Jeahyun nodded thoughtfully, wondering if that was normal. Then, with determination, he told Hyungjin that he could help him get his old life back. Confused, the man asked what he meant. Jeahyun explained that as long as they remained within the home base, they would never be attacked by monsters. Skeptical, Hyungjin asked if that was really possible. Jeahyun confirmed it, but warned there was a price. He might have to risk his life. After a moment of silence, Hyungjin hesitated for a moment and agreed. Jeahyun smiled approvingly, then randomly asked how much a golf club cost. Startled, Hyungjin replied, "About 500,000 won." Jeahyun considered buying one from the shop, then rejected the idea. It was too expensive. Better to save money for later. When Hyungjin asked why he wanted to know, Jeahyun brushed it off. Changing the subject, he asked if Hyungjin remembered the day of the apocalypse. The man shuddered, recalling goblins swarming the streets that weekend. Jeahyun muttered that people at home might still be alive. In his mind, he noted that goblins were weak alone but deadly in groups, just like people. To survive, he would need more numbers. He then asked Hyungjin to help him find other survivor. Back in his own apartment, Jeahyun lay down to rest. The system notified him that Hyungjin's trust had increased, along with the rest of his family's. Smiling faintly, he thought that maybe, just maybe, if he gathered enough people, He could see his family again one day. His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of fighting. Looking out, he saw a group of strangers battling goblins with incredible skill. A woman loosed arrows with deadly accuracy. A man smashed goblins into the ground with brute force. They fought like veterans, and Jeahyun was stunned that as the survivors cleaned up, one of them spotted a snack lying nearby. Following the trail, she saw Jeahyun waving at them clumsily from his balcony. Just then, his doorbell rang. Assuming it was Hyunjin, he opened the door, only to be blocked by the barrier. The system explained, "Entry denied. Inefficient qualification for access." Confused, Jeahyun realized only vassals could enter his apartment. Hyunjin handed him a weapon he had requested. In return, Jeahyun produced bottles of water and instant noodles from the shop, instructing Hyunjin to leave them on the first floor. The man hesitated. It was dangerous. Jeahyun assured him it was safer at night and urged him to trust him, seeing Hyunjin's kindness. Jeahyun created a quest for him. Deliver food to the first floor. Reward, experience points. When Hyunjin asked if this was some kind of game, Jeahyun simply said yes. Hyunjin then slowly descended the stairs, trembling that he finally reached the place and placed the supplies. But in the distance, shadows approached. He froze, remembering goblins. Panicked, he tripped and fell, only to hear a voice asking if he was all right. Looking up, he saw the strangers who had been fighting earlier. Meanwhile, Jeahyun activated Ultimate Eye to observe, seeing the system alerting him. He saw the strangers debating. They were starving and knew someone in this apartment had food. Their leader insisted they needed to act quickly. The system asked Jeahyun if he wanted to offer them citizenship. He realized outsiders could refuse, unlike neighbors inside his base. Forcing wasn't an option. He groaned in frustration, thinking. Then the doorbell rang. Smiling slyly, he assigned Hyunjin a new quest: host dinner for 6 guests. Confused, Hyunjin asked what this was. Jeahyun told him to simply invite them. The plan worked. The 6 strangers accepted, becoming citizens of the home base. Excited, Jeahyun celebrated. He now had 10 people under him. Checking their abilities, he saw one man, Dong Ha, had awakened powers enhancing his baseball pitching. Intrigued, Jeahyun thought it could be weaponized. He adjusted the system to give all citizens 70% of experience points, planning to earn their trust. Already, Dongan's trust spiked, followed by the others. Inside, Hyunjin welcomed the new guests. The wife, then worried, asks the husband what's going on, making the Hyunjin reply that he will explain later and asks her to prepare a meal for them. The wife then tells him that she has to make everything from scratch, making the husband apologize and telling her that our boy said so. She then, determined, tells them that she'll try to rush Dongan, bows, and thank her. He then asks the husband to tell him more about the person named Jeahyun, talking about our boy. The husband then hastily says that he doesn't know much about him, making Dong ask him what does he know about him then. The husband replies that he knows that he lives next door and can be quite an interesting person, and none of this would be possible without him. Dong then thinks that he must be an awakened too, looking at the ramen food supply in his jacket. He then thinks that they have to make a good impression on him no matter what to secure food, comparing his ability with his ability, thinking they are unparalleled. The husband then asks them if they want to take a shower while the food is being cooked, making the girls gag in surprise that they actually have showers. Dong, in disbelief, thinks that this guy can even control the infrastructure in the building. The husband then tells them that they even have hot water, shocking the girls to the core. The husband then tells them that they can shower at the same time because there are 2 showers in the living room and in the bathroom. One of the guys then asks Dong if Dong thinks that our boy is an awakened. Dong tells him that maybe he might be an awakened and he is definitely better than him. The other guy then pats his shoulder and tells him to not be intimidated, making Dong annoyed, asking him what he is talking about and telling him that they should try to impress him, not beat him up. The other guy then asks Dong where he is going with, making Dong reply to do him a favor and not do anything reckless in front of our boy. He then tells them his plan. His plan is to ask them for food and secure as much of it as he can, making them all agree. One guy then falls out distracted. Dong then goes to him and pats his shoulders, calling him Byung Ho. The guy then apologizes, saying that he got distracted. Dong then tells him that he himself should be the one apologizing, and this is all his fault. The guy then tries to refuse, saying that it's not his fault. Dong then in regret tells him that if only he hadn't insisted on having a housewarming party. The guy then hesitantly turns and tells Dong that it's really fine and he wanted to be in his party, not like he forced him to be. Dong then tells him that they will go to his granny's house once they secure food, prompting the guy to thank him and then slump down thinking that it's too late and the chances of his grandma surviving are very slim. Suddenly, the door opens, making all of them alert, ready to what it seems to be a fight. Then the door creaks open and it's none other than our boy. Jeahyun entered carrying groceries. Smiling politely, he told them he would help in any way he could. They all sat down together at the table, though the atmosphere was tense and awkwardly silent. Haiwan, the wife, apologized, explaining that the table was too small to seat everyone comfortably. Dong reassured her that it was fine, even joking that they had barged in without warning anyway. Then, Hyungjin emerged carrying steaming dishes, setting them carefully on the crowded table. With hesitation, Haiwan said she hoped the food was all right. The dishes shimmered in the light, almost sparkling, and the rich aroma filled the room. One of the girls blurted out how incredible the food looked, reassuring her in the process. Haiwan, keeping modest, quickly insisted it was only possible because of Jeahyun's help. The system informed Jeahyun that Haiwan's trust had risen, surpassing even her husband's, which made him smile quietly. Both parents urged everyone to eat freely, and soon the small apartment filled with the sounds of happy munching. The guests marveled at the flavor, comparing Haiwan's cooking to the omelets at restaurants. Embarrassed but hopeful, she told them she only wished they enjoyed it. Little Jeahyun called her mother, whining softly that she wanted omelets too. Haiwan gently explained that she would make one for her after the guests finished eating, which made the girl's eyes well up with tears. Before she could cry, the archer woman leaned over, inviting Jeahyun to sit with her. The child's sadness instantly lifted as she climbed onto the woman's lap, who then fed her tenderly from her own plate. Hyungjin and Haiwan exchanged awkward chuckles at the sight. Jeahyun finally invited the rest of the group to share freely, pointing out that there was enough food to go around. Grateful, the survivors accepted, laughing and telling him they wouldn't say no to a proper meal. As they ate together, Jeahyun grew quiet. It had been a long time since he'd shared food like this, and the moment stirred memories of meals with his parents. His chest tightened as he silently prayed they were still safe somewhere. When the meal ended, Jeahyun told her mother she was sleepy. Haiwan carried her daughter in her arms, telling her that it was time for bed. With the child gone, the mood shifted, giving space for the conversation to return to heavier matters. Picking up where they had left off earlier, Jeahyun asked about the grandfather's house nearby and why they hadn't tried to reach it. Dong answered that goblins had made the journey impossible. He explained further that the underground parking lot gave the monsters plenty of space to gather and settle. His group had been stuck here ever since. Jeahyun thought about it carefully. His skill, the ultimate shut-in, seemed to only extend across the 30th floor. That must have been why goblins were still able to enter through the underground parking. Dong added that since all the apartment entrances were connected to that same parking lot, there was no safe way out. Jeahyun countered, saying there was a small alley at the corner. Dong nodded slowly, explaining that they had considered sneaking out through it, but something far more dangerous had stopped them. Curious, Jeahyun asked what it was that Dong's face darkened as he remembered. He described a wolf-like beast with the body of a bear, tearing through both men and goblins alike. The only reason they had escaped was because the creature had been too busy fighting a large horde of goblins. But it had been too dark to see its true form clearly. Jeahyun remarked that they would eventually have to face that monster. Dong reluctantly agreed, but admitted they had no chance of defeating it as things stood. When Jeahyun asked why, the girl beside Dong answered. They had used arrows and even thrown baseballs as weapons, but now their supplies were running dangerously low. Jeahyun stretched out his hand, asking to see their equipment. Curious but trusting, they passed him a bow, some arrows, and a baseball. Immediately, the system prompted him to register the items. He agreed without hesitation. The system analyzed the bow, labeling it a high-quality recurved bow worth over 1.5 million won. Jeahyun confirmed registration and then asked if anyone in the group actually knew how to use a bow. Silence filled the room. He then ordered the system to purchase 5 full sets of bows and arrows. In an instant, shimmering weapons materialized in the air. Handing them out, He told the group to begin practicing. They would need this skill from now on. Their eyes widened in shock at the sight. Trust values surged. Dong and Ha, Gaeong Kim, and Hyerin Yu all felt their confidence in Jeahyun grow. Byongo, the boy who had lost his grandmother, starts to hope that they could save his grandfather. Dong reassured him that the bows would help them hunt goblins more effectively. Another survivor added that they no longer had to risk their lives just to retrieve arrows. Before the group's chatter grew too loud, Jeahyun cut in and added that they needed to reduce the number of goblins in the area. Dong asked when they should start. Jeahyun answered without hesitation, "Tomorrow." Dong flinched, saying that might be too soon. But Jeahyun countered that the sooner, the better. Slowly, Dong nodded in agreement. Then Jeahyun made a bold announcement. They would rescue Byongo's grandmother by tomorrow night. The boy's face lit up with joy. Confused, Dong demanded to know how they could possibly manage that. And our boy then smirked and replied they will use what is called a decoy. If you want more videos, like and subscribe so I can post them. Ciao.